Hey, Amie,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you're listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us your comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media on X and BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky at Baseball Shangri-La. Amie, ¿cómo estás?
Hi. We have so much baseball to talk about and so little time.
We do have some baseball to actually talk about. To me, it's more about the World Baseball Classic, which we are going to get into. But let's start off with some breaking news from earlier in the week.
A little closer to home, perhaps.
A little closer to home. And then one thing that was brought to my attention since we were back last week for the first time was I didn't start off the baseball talk with, and a pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. So, Amie, there's some news that broke earlier in this week. Do you want to let everybody know about all of a sudden Dodger Stadium may be looking a little different?
Yeah. So, for the first time in 64 years, a sponsorship has been announced for the stadium. So, the name remains unchanged for everybody who's like grasping their pearls. They did not sell the naming rights to the ballpark, but they did sell the name to the field. So, it will now be known as Uniqlo Field at Dodger Stadium. Uniqlo holds the rights to the playing field, so you will see signage and different references around because they are now the official field presenting partner. I've mixed feelings about this. I'm glad they didn't sell the stadium rights, but like I think I sent you the baseball or not baseball, basketball beginning credits from the movie of like when they had Preparation H Field and like this is how the sport changed and it's like we have remained untarnished by it and it feels a little weird now that it's hidden.
2 minutes into the show, ladies and gentlemen, and Amie has already dropped her first basketball reference of the season. So, congratulations to you, Amie. And let's just add a little more. I do want to just give credit. Katie Wu of The Athletic
Thank you.
was the first person to break that story. Also, Uniqlo is a Japanese company. Surprise, surprise, everybody. A Japanese company is the one that is going to have their name put on the field at Dodger Stadium. I believe correct me if I'm wrong. It's a clothing company, Amie? Am I
It is a fast fashion company in
fast
Japan. They
fashion?
have more than 1,000 stores globally. So, yes, according to Katie, she is the one who broke it. We haven't gotten an official. Wow, I'm just going to let you know right now. Words are not my strong suit today. But we haven't gotten the official announcement from the Dodgers yet. But they're expecting that either any day or before opening day when we see the field. But evidently, they've been looking for a partner since 2022, and they finally found it.
And there's pictures floating around on social media of some signage out in the center field area of Dodger Stadium that is covered, that a lot of people are speculating is going to be the Uniqlo signage. Amie, to me, this story is a wet fart. Like it's no big
Whoa.
deal to me. It really isn't, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm old enough to have lived, and for those of you listening or watching, maybe you might remember. Does anybody remember Edison Field at Anaheim Stadium? Does anybody remember that episode of our lives? And let me tell you, Amie, nobody referred to it as Edison Field. I mean, the only time they actually referred to it as Edison Field was the time that the power went out at Angel Stadium. And they all thought because Edison was the electric company, they're like, isn't that ironic that the power has gone out at Edison Field?
Don't you
Um,
think? That
look,
honestly, I still call Staples Center Staples Center. I know that it's what is it? Crypto.
yeah, crypto.com. Yeah, look, I was going to use that as an example too.
Oh,
I
my bad.
not only that, for the longest time, the Honda Center I still called the Pond. There
Oh, it's
are,
called the Honda Center now?
or maybe it's called something else. To tell
No,
you
no,
the
no.
truth.
That just shows you how little attention I pay to
Well, I mean, but
anything outside of Dodger Stadium.
that's to me the thing. Whoever gets their name on it first, I think, is always going to be the winner because people will remember it by that name, even if they change it. The first name is the one that is going to stick. But
Well, I'm not stoked on it. I'm actually surprised it took this long. I mean, here we are, 64 years into having Dodger Stadium. So many other stadiums are already like on their third, fourth name change. So, I mean, at least they didn't give away the actual ballpark naming rights. So we'll take our wins where we can get them.
but let's be honest, and for those of you watching on YouTube, chime in. If you're on the audio, hit us up on the socials. But I don't think anybody's going to call it Uniqlo Field. I mean, that is going to be Dodger Stadium. People are still going to call it Dodger Stadium. So that's why, to me, this is a non-story. This again, and again, I understand that, like the truest, the baseball loyalists, the ones in terms of why they're getting a little upset. But I think with the Dodgers track record, I don't think you have any reason to be upset because this is just another revenue stream. And what we've seen so far up until this point is that this ownership group invests that revenue back into the team. So if this is another way for them to continue to bring elite talent, keep elite talent in the organization, I don't think there's anything to get upset about, especially since all of us are still going to call it Dodger Stadium. I don't think anyone will make reference to, hey, it's Uniqlo. You want to go to Uniqlo Field at Dodger Stadium? Everyone is going to say Dodger Stadium. To me, Amy, what the bigger story would have been, and this one would have really impressed me, but I know there's no chance that this would have ever have happened, was that if they used the naming rights of the stadium to keep ticket prices relatively affordable. But I know that I'm living in a dream world. That's never going to happen. They're going to ticket prices will continue, but that to me, that would have been a stop the presses moment if they would have said, you know what, the money we're generating from the naming rights of the field, we're going to use that to offset to keep ticket prices down, and that's something I want to bring up again when we talk about the WBC. But other than that, Amy, this is to me, this is a non. This is like okay, all right. I mean, it's no different than I'm constantly seeing churro signs. I shouldn't know what churro is because I don't have any pets. But
Yeah.
I know what churro is because whenever I watch the Dodger games, I see churro and I'm not saying churros, okay? It's churro. And if you watch Dodger games, you know what I'm talking about. What is churro, Amy?
It's a pet food or a snack or something. I don't know.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
and I'm not saying that it's necessarily like this is a break the press story, but I mean, it is something for people to be aware of as they go to the stadium. They are going to see different signage. So if you missed any of I mean, it was on social media, but depending on how everybody gets their news, this might be the first time somebody's hearing about it. So
Does it bug you? Does it bug you that there's a naming right now at Dodger Stadium?
no, I already said, like, for me, it's one, I'm surprised it took this long. Two, like, I'm not gonna call it that, so they can do whatever they want. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's capitalism. So, I mean, in the grand scheme, like I said, I'm surprised it took this long.
And that's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's a sport, but this is also a business, and this is the business aspect of it. Let's talk about something that did get people's, at least one person in particular's dandruff up, and that is Miguel Rojas being outed for PED, getting busted for PED use.
Whoa, careful how you report that, or you're going to need to apologize yourself.
What am I talking about here, Amie?
So let's give you a little timeline. We all heard, I think John Boy announced it on March 3rd. So 2 weeks ago, we had already heard that Johan Rojas was being suspended for PEDs. On the 16th, Evan Drellick had posted on Twitter. So if you had seen the post before, I think it was up. It's been alluded to for about 6 minutes before it got taken down. But he had tweeted, "I've deleted a post incorrectly identifying who was suspended today. It was Johan Rojas of the Philadelphia Phillies who was suspended." So when that happened, I thought it was interesting because just we'll get to the interesting in a second. But 2 days later, we saw on Chris Rose Sports, Chris Rose was interviewing Miguel Rojas, and he had asked him, kind of what was going on with the situation. And prior to that, when I was looking at Evan Drellick's tweet, there were a lot of comments on there saying, "Hey, did you at least apologize to him?" I kind of searched all over because I was curious. When you see something like that, it's kind of a big mistake. But I hadn't seen anything like that. And then I saw the Chris Rose post where Miggy said he was only going to talk about it one time. He didn't want to make it about himself. But Chris Rose had said that Evan Drellick had mistyped his name. And Miguel Rojas stopped him right there. He was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He did not mistype my name. He had the intention of putting my name and putting the organization's name out there together. So you are intentionally typing that. But what it all came down to was there was no apology. There was, it just the post was up, but the drama ensued afterwards.
Yes. Look, there's no denying there was a big mistake made. And I, for one, Amie, I was a little surprised by how heated Miguel Rojas was on that Chris Rose interview.
Really? Why?
Only just because, especially with my interactions with Miguel Rojas. Now, look, I get it, and he's talked about it in that interview with Chris Rose. Like, there was a short period of time where my life was turned upside down because his phone was blowing up. Everybody, was reaching out to him, and I can understand that is really upsetting. But my interaction with Miguel Rojas, this is a guy, whenever I was covering the team in the clubhouse, was always very open to speaking with you. He was always very respectful. I felt like he was always just very down to earth. So there is a part of me that feels like
he can't have human emotions.
No, he totally can. But there's also a part of me that feels that he's the kind of guy that I think would understand. All right, dude, you made a mistake. Okay, I get it. The mistakes happen, right? Now, this is what surprised me was the fact that he came out and said that he did it with intention, that Evan Drellich did that with intention. And I only say this, Amie, and I'm only speaking for myself in terms of my interaction with Dodgers and Dodgers PR. And maybe we'll find this out later on. And how do we not know that Evan Drellich made an effort to reach Miguel Rojas before publicly apologizing? Do we know that now, is it totally outlandish, Amie, for me to do this? For Evan Drellich to reach out to Dodgers PR and say, "Hey, I want to talk to Miguel Rojas. I want to apologize to him in person before I go on publicly apologize to him because I want to talk to him. I want to tell him what's going on." And let's say Dodgers PR said, "Yeah, we'll let him know." And it takes 24, 48 hours, whatever. By then, the story has completely blown up. All I'm saying is, in my experience, Dodgers PR hasn't been the quickest to report.
Let's be careful on what we're saying here, but go on.
But I'm also, that's what I'm saying is we don't know that Evan Drellich didn't make an effort to try to apologize to Miguel Rojas first before all of this blew up. That's what surprised me, is that Miguel Rojas spoke very confidently that Evan Drellich did this on purpose. Now,
I didn't take it that way though when he said that. So
he said he didn't make it wasn't a mistake. Didn't he say that to Chris Rose?
He did, but I think the wording of it is important because he is saying that it's okay to make a mistake, but the fact that you are intentionally typing it out. He's not saying he's intentionally typing it like, I'm going to put this misinformation out there. But it does, you have to type Miguel Rojas instead of Johan Rojas. You have to type the Los Angeles Dodgers instead of the Philadelphia Phillies. And this is news that was already reported. So if he's reporting on what I did notice was that John Boy didn't have a date, like the number of days that were on there, at least on the post I was looking back on. So if Evan Drellich was just trying to break how many days the suspension was for, he did intentionally type Miguel Rojas with the Los Angeles Dodgers instead of Johan Rojas with the Philadelphia Phillies. So that, to his point, he's typing that out. It is a mistake, yes, but you still had to type all of that out. So like, it's like checks notes. This is for, I'm reporting on Johan, but you're typing out a whole other person on a whole other team. So I didn't take it like he's saying, oh my God, he intentionally did this on purpose. He's saying it is a mistake, but because of the mistake and what happened with it, 6 minutes of chaos in his world, chaos of, we know how fans are rabid against the Dodgers. Now you've got 6 minutes of this snowballing on social media platforms about like, knew it, the Dodgers are cheating, whatever. That's just creating chaos when double check your notes. And I'm not saying that Evan Drellich should be chased down, hunted down, or anything. He made a mistake. It's how you deal with it after the fact. And we don't know what Evan did. We don't know what didn't make it or did make it to Miguel. There's a lot of what ifs in this situation, but I think an apology does go a long way, because that was the one thing that did stick out to me. Like, hey, I made a mistake. Like, maybe you just, when you post I've deleted a post incorrectly identifying, hey, sorry. And then he can still go reach out after the fact. I'm not telling him how to do it. I wasn't in this situation, but I didn't take it that way.
Yeah, there were a lot of other reporters that were very quick to defend him. I don't know Evan Drellich's reputation that well to go on a limb and say, hey, he doesn't have the history of doing this kind of stuff. All I'm saying is,
I don't think we should attack him by any means. He made a mistake. Like, that goes without saying. We all make them.
I find it interesting the way this is being covered, that Evan Drellich is being held to a higher standard than a lot of other people in Major League Baseball. There is a higher level of accountability for Evan Drellich than there are for Major League Baseball owners that have done and said things or acted things. I mean, Artie Moreno basically coming out there and saying, hey, and I get it, he's the owner, so this is a power structure type thing. Evan Drellich is lower on the totem pole. But the way people came after him, and look again, there does need to be a level of accountability. It was a mistake. Now, I sometimes type something in my phone or to type something, and it will automatically put in stuff thinking this is what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
A whole player in another team?
Well, I mean, that's the dangers, right, that we have now with technology. If you type in Miguel Rojas, how many times will Dodgers automatically be associated with Miguel Rojas if you do that? So if he made the mistake of putting Miguel Rojas in, and again, this is not to defer accountability, right? Because he did make the mistake, and this is, again, maybe the speed to try to be the first one to report this, even though it looked like John Boy had already beaten him to it.
2 weeks ago?
Prevented him from double checking his work before posting it. All I'm saying is it surprised me, because now, if it was anybody, like, let's say if it was Trevor Bauer, if it was somebody who I felt was confrontational, that kind of response wouldn't surprise me. But Miguel Rojas, to me, doesn't come off as a confrontational person. So for him, I was just like,
I didn't feel like it was confrontational. I just felt like he had feelings about it. To me, like, I don't think there needs to be, like I said, a witch hunt for Evan Drellich. He made a mistake. I think, to your point about accountability, I know this from many of the women reporters that I talk to. We don't have the privilege of making mistakes as easily as our male counterparts. So we double, triple, quadruple check everything. Does that mean that we don't make mistakes? Absolutely not. But that is a par for the course. We know that we have to do that extra work just to be accepted in this industry. I'm going to have to go through and double check, grab my sources, do all of that before we get on. And sometimes you can say stuff and it's kind of like, well, whatever. I don't think the issue here is that he made the mistake, at least not to me. Like, people make mistakes all the time. I think it's how you handle it. And again, to your point, we don't know what he did in the background. But I don't think just because Miguel Rojas was upset about it, that has anything necessarily to do with Evan Drellich's. I think the two can still be separate issues. I think Miguel can be upset about it. Whether he got an apology, he didn't get an apology. He's upset that it did turn his life around for however many minutes and whatever that resulted in. And for Evan, maybe this is a valuable lesson in like, hey, I thought my tweet letting everybody know I took it down was enough. Now he knows there's a little bit more accountability, at least from an acceptance point from society, that maybe I should apologize, whether that is in public or letting people know, hey, I've already reached out and apologized, because he is writing to the masses. So communication is part of that. I think it doesn't have to be a witch hunt on either side. I think it can just be a learning point for everybody. Miguel gets to have his feelings, and Evan maybe learns how to handle something a little differently. But at the end of the day, he made a mistake. He shouldn't be skewered for it.
God, who would had on their bingo card that I would be the one asking for grace for Evan Drellich on this?
But
show?
I'm not asking for grace for him though. Like I'm not against what you're saying. I think he made a mistake.
No, I mean he definitely made a mistake. And look, there are certain mistakes that sometimes you just don't recover. I mean John Heyman still has to deal with the reputation hit that he's taken for not just one, but a few mistakes that he's made. I'm trying to think of who is JP Hornstra. JP Hornstra took his reputation took a big hit. And there's a lot of reporters that you'll talk to that will tell you that JP Hornstra is a very good writer. He's a very good reporter. You know, he made a mistake that now every time JP Hornstra's name comes up, people will go ahead. And I look, Amie, I'm trying to turn a new leaf.
I don't think
I'm trying to turn a new leaf here.
No, I'm proud of you, and that's why I don't think anybody should be skewering Evan Drellich. I think people have some concerns, especially who are consuming media, of, you know, like you said, we don't know what happened behind the scenes, but Chris Rose's thing comes out, and then all of a sudden, you know, you get the tweet that's kind of verbatim what they were saying, basically, you know, to Miguel Rojas and the Dodgers. I sincerely and publicly apologize. I've reached out to Miguel, the Dodgers, and Miguel's agent to say the same. Once again, I'm sorry. To me, he has apologized. There are still some people out there that are upset, and they're like, well, he did it because Chris Rose's things, whatever. To your point, do we give him grace? I mean, I think we should. We don't know what he did behind the scenes. Maybe to your point, there was like a 2-day waiting period. He was trying to get a hold of Miguel one way, maybe through his agent. We don't know. I think assuming positive intent is probably the best we can do, but I still think at the end of the day, it's a learning curve. It does not negate all of the quality work he's done up to this point and all the quality work he's going to do afterwards. But it is a point to learn from, of like, man, I bet I'm really going to double check something next time. I mean, we've all done that. You do it at work, you do it in real life, and it's like, okay, next time I'm not going to make that mistake. And you go on and you learn from it.
Yeah, I just feel the poor guy was screwed the minute he made that mistake, because if he doesn't, even if he apologizes immediately right after he takes down the tweet and all that stuff, I bet you he'll be criticized for, why didn't you call Miguel Rojas and apologize to him in person?
But at that point, it's going to be varying degrees, and you can't make everybody happy. Yeah. I mean, I think an apology does go a long way, especially as a professional. And again, I'm not going to call him out. I don't know the whole situation. We only know the little bits that we're seeing. But an apology does go a long way. If he had apologized after the fact, let's just say it's as black and white as it is, because we'll use a different reporter, John Smith. Let's say John Smith posts this, and then right afterwards he posts the apology. At that point, in my mind, regardless of what happens behind the scenes, like, you've done your due diligence. You made a mistake. You apologize for it. We move on. Anybody else on social media who has a problem with that, that's your problem at that point. That's nobody else's. I think what people are taking issue with is that there seemingly was no apology, and they felt that might have been due to Miguel for, you know, associating him with something like this. But again, at the end of the day, people are still going to follow him. It is a mistake. And the people who don't, you're either going to miss out on good reporting, or you're going to move on with your life and it's not going to make anything. Like, I think the people who are making a bigger issue out of it at that point, again, that's your problem. You go do that, have fun. But I think Miguel is valid if he feels that way. And I think Evan's going to learn from it, and we move on. All right.
Can you hear me?
Rose. There we go. There we go. You were looking so pensive. I was just.
Well, I was looking pensive because I lost you. I didn't get your audio, so I was waiting.
No. Okay, so when you guys are watching this, you're going to either hear one of us with audio or one not. It's the toss up of who got bleeped out by the internet.
Yeah, by the time Miguel Rojas went on Chris Rose, I just think Evan Drellich, by then this thing had snowballed so quickly. He was screwed because I don't think it was a good look that Miguel Rojas gives that interview saying, hey, he could have apologized. And then right after that, he drops the apology on social media. I don't think that's a good look because that looks like, hey, you're just apologizing because he called you out on it. And
to your point, though, it's a no-win situation. He either doesn't apologize and now it's taking longer, or he drops the apology and then everybody comes to the same conclusion of, oh, you're just doing it because Chris Rose told you to. And like I said, that's where it's the learning curve. Maybe you just acknowledge it a little sooner or whatever. Maybe he never makes another mistake again in his life and it's perfect. And, he never has to worry about this. That would be ideal.
Yeah. Again, my thing is a mistake was made, and I think that's the important part of the story is that it needs to be accountability to that. My issue was really more with like, wow, Evan Drellich is being held to a much higher level of accountability than a lot of other people in this sport. And that to me is what I found very interesting. And I guess it's a power dynamic. Again, there people with more power are going to have a little more rope, and it just sucks that those at the bottom, it almost, and that's the pressure of the business, right? It's like you can't afford to make a mistake. Because if you do make a mistake, it could just, and we just cited a lot of examples.
I feel that all the time in everything that I do. We cannot afford to make a mistake. That's why I'm very careful on this show, because there are a lot of things that play behind the scenes that there are different ramifications for what we say. The internet is forever. It's great to have opinions, but the First Amendment doesn't protect opinions. It allows you to say what you want, but there are still consequences. And that also goes with mistakes. And that's something that we all need to remember.
That leads me to a great segue into the WBC, but are there any other Dodger spring training stuff that you want to discuss?
I mean, not really. I know we have a short episode, and I'm really excited about the WBC. So I'm curious how you're linking the First Amendment to the WBC. Let's go.
Well, not only that, I don't want to. If we're going to talk about the WBC, I think what we should first talk about is the championship with Venezuela and all that stuff, because that story what led me to it was certain comments that were made about the WBC. I want to save those for the end of our WBC conversation. I want to start off with positivity first, because those comments I think were a little negative. But let's start first with the fact that Venezuela, am I not making myself clear?
No, but most of my commentary here is positive. So
well, okay. Let me just say it instead of just all of that. When multiple people, and in particular Derek Jeter, makes a comment saying that all those people that are saying that the WBC is bigger than the World Series or better than the World Series, and then Derek Jeter says, obviously haven't played in the World Series, completely ignoring the fact that at least two players that I know that made those comments actually played in World Series.
Well, so one of the people who made the comments was Kike Hernandez, and Jack Harris reported on it. And so initially, Kike had said, I've played in 5 World Series, and I don't know if it's because of what's across my chest, but the Classic feels above that. And then he later clarified on Thursday that the WBC feels bigger than the World Series, even if there is no apples to apples comparison for an MLB title. So he's talking about more like you don't always get to, I'm trying to find my quote here, you don't always get to choose who you play for in the MLB. And sometimes that's not in your control. But when you're representing your country and you're playing along with your homies, sometimes you're playing with people you grew up with, people back home are rooting for you. And so for them, it is bigger than baseball. It is bigger than all of that. And I think, I don't know why everybody is taking such like you said, the earlier story, not a big deal. Like, I don't know why people are allowed to have opinions. Miguel Rojas is allowed to be upset. Some of these guys, whether they played in a World Series or not, are allowed to think this is bigger if this gives them bigger feelings. I don't know why everybody has to feel like we've all got to fit in this box if we all agree on everything.
And that leads me to something that, again, I want to get into, but I want to give props first to Venezuela, who won the World Baseball Classic. It's the first time they've won it, and I want to give them their flores, Amie, because they beat Japan and they beat the United States. They beat the two favorites in this tournament. And
the two teams who made it last time, like not just the favorites, but the two who faced off in the 2023 WBC.
Yeah, and I also just want to give them their flores because that country has been through a lot just in the last year. I
was going to say historically.
They were attacked. Their leader of their country was, whatever you want to call it, kidnapped, arrested, whatever you want to call it. And then on top of that, La Serie del Caribe was taken from them because of all the military action that went against the country.
Right.
So the people in that country have gone through a lot. And what is very clear is that people in Venezuela really love baseball. And so for them to have this moment where their country wins the World Baseball Classic, I think that's a fabulous moment and deserves to be celebrated.
Not only them, like, congratulations. Like, I cried, like, just watching the whole broadcast once, like, through the game, but once they won, everything after. But also, like, flores to a lot of the Latin teams. Like, we saw the same energy with Puerto Rico. We saw it with the Dominican Republic. Like, you saw everybody come together and celebrate, and just the joy and exuberance. And I loved seeing that play out, especially when Venezuela won. Like, you saw a lot of the videos after the fact. I think it was Ronald Acuna Jr. was crying throughout the entire ninth inning in the outfield. Like, there's video of him like constantly wiping and clearing his eyes and then getting ready for a play. You had the relief pitcher, Daniel Palencia. He was crying before he threw the final out, that final strikeout that Roman Anthony swung at. Like, you had all of these things where everybody's feeling these moments, and that's not even when they won. Like, after they won, there's just everybody's feeling it differently. There were so many tears, and it was so beautiful.
Yeah, and look, this was a tournament you not only had Venezuela, but you also had the fact that the Fighting Ned Colettis, got as far. They were one game from going to the championship.
For all of you not fluent in Juan speak.
Yeah, I mean, the Italians never made it out of pool play. This is the first time they made it out of pool play, and they're one game away. I think that's a great storyline. I think anytime that you see countries that aren't superpowers when it comes to baseball advance this far in this tournament, I think it's a great story there. Also, Amie, the ratings for the United States and the Dominican game were higher than the All-Star game. Now, mind you, some people will say, well, the players playing in that USA versus Dominican game was an All-Star game. It's like watching an All-Star game, Juan. And it's like,
they had 7.369 million viewers in the USA versus Dominican game. Like,
yeah. I mean, there's so many positives that have come from this tournament, and you had great games in the semifinals and in the finals. So to me, it's once again proof again that this tournament is worthy. I think this tournament deserves. I mean, CC Sabathia, a Hall of Famer, said, "I'm all for giving up spring training games to have this World Baseball Classic," and I just hope that this continues, because as much as we just shared with you all the positives, everything that's so great, I still feel there is, and hopefully it's getting smaller, there's still some negativity around this tournament.
Which I don't understand, because, like, even to Kike's point, like, it's true. We've watched this happen. Everybody's had this experience where you have the players that you love on your team, and then they leave because it's business. We just lost Anthony Banda. You see Ben Rortvedt get DFA'd, then come back and then get DFA'd again. Like, whoever your favorite player is on whatever team you follow, like, we don't get a choice in any of this. But when you're following the team of whatever country you support, whether that's because of your heritage, your family, or you just like the team, like, it feels like everybody has a little bit more of a choice in that. Like, not saying that you don't have a choice in whatever MLB team you support, but we have a lot less to go on when people get traded and stuff like that. The way that it brings people together, I love the Dodgers. I love the Dodgers so much as a fan that I cover them as a journalist. But putting on my Team Mexico jersey and watching the games, whether at home or at a brewery, there was just a different feel to it. I totally understand what Kike's saying, and I've never played in a World Series. I felt it. It felt electric, and it felt like, yes, we're a part of something as fans in our regular everyday MLB life, but it just had a little bit more to it. And I thought it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, and so to me, a couple other things I think that were so great is Jose Altuve, Venezuelan, didn't get to play in the tournament because he couldn't get the insurance coverage. But you saw him in the stands watching the games. There was a video going around on social media. I don't know if you saw Miguel Rojas wearing his Venezuela jersey, watching the game with his son. And it's like that to me, that's all great stuff. And I love watching it. The other thing that is going around here, and Amie, I don't know if because I know
you had the Contreras brothers, William and Wilson. They were on the same team for the first time in their lives. They're hugging and crying. Like, they just got to share this beautiful experience through the pool tournament, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, into the championship, and then to win together. Like, how? Oh, I just got chills.
Now, I don't, because I know you sometimes you watch these games in the brewery.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can hear it, but the sound, that stadium sounded very loud to me. And it sounded like, and in particular, I'm talking about Miami. All the games, regardless of who was playing, sounded really loud to me.
It sounded like a World Series game.
Yeah, so much so. Actually, to me, it sounded a little louder than a World Series game, to tell you the truth. But to me, what is so interesting is there is talk about having Miami be a permanent location in the rotation for this tournament. And honestly, Amie, after seeing the attendance, seeing the crowd interaction with it, as jealous as I am, because when I got to see the championship game when it was at Dodger Stadium, and I went to Arizona when Mexico played the United States, being able to go to these games is something I would like to do. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I do think Miami should probably be the permanent, because of the fact that just that environment, it doesn't. I don't think anything beats it.
Yeah, I mean, you still have 3 other stadiums that you can utilize throughout. So even if you do just the championship there, like, that's not saying you couldn't use Dodger Stadium or another stadium throughout the other tiers of it, especially if you're looking for something that holds more people. Because while the championship game was a sellout, it was a sellout of 36,190. And as we know, stadiums like Dodger Stadium or others, we can hold up to 55,000. So if it becomes a monetary thing, that's where you might see it shift. But like, it makes sense to have it in Miami. You have a lot of that culture, like, centralized right there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if they were to do that, I mean, I'm sure people will have opinions, but to me, it makes sense.
And look, when I went to the Dodger Stadium, the final at Dodger Stadium, there were a lot of people that traveled to Dodger Stadium to attend it. But you just nailed it right there. Because Miami is more of a centralized hub, especially for the Latin American countries. And that's not to say, like, I was there, like, at Dodger Stadium when I was there, they had a giant drum out in the left field pavilion, where the Cholos sit. And it was the Japanese were banging on the drum the whole time. Like, the Japanese, they bring a lot. It's a different type of energy, but they bring an energy to it. And
you saw that in Tokyo. They were going the whole time. Like, there's not ever really quiet, I think, in some of those games.
Yeah, so for me, I just I think I'm sad it's over. I always feel like it goes real quick. Once pool play ends, I feel like dang, you just blink and it's all over. But I'm a firm believer. I'm a strong supporter of this tournament. I want to see it continue to grow, and so I knew it was coming, and I hate that to see that the excuses that were being made by the United States in terms of why they lost to Venezuela. I'm just like, guys, is it that
Oh,
really hard?
see,
Is
and
it
that's
that
where
hard?
you and I are different. I don't seek any of that stuff out. I don't want to
Well,
know.
I don't seek it out either, but I see it, and that's like so this whole narrative of like, well, it's because the U.S. isn't into it. It doesn't mean as much to the U.S. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't buy that because there was video of Paul Skeens after the game walking through the hallway, and you could tell that dude was pissed. Don't tell me that these guys in the United States don't care. Like Bryce Harper, I thought was so classy. And even though Bryce Harper made the comment that the Olympics is bigger than the World Baseball Classic, Bryce Harper went after the game, went and shook the people of Venezuela's hand after winning it. I
Well,
just
at
like,
the end of the day, these guys are all teammates. Even though you're separated out into your team country affiliations, these guys all still play together. Like,
yeah, I hate this narrative that the United States, it doesn't mean much to them. That's why they don't win it. It's just like, no, dude, they got beat, and it happens, you know,
or you
and
just don't continue the narrative. Like you're not gonna fight it back. And to me, like I don't like I see it and I just all right, cool. You want to think not you, but like those people want to think negative. You want to put that on a team. All right, if that helps you make it through your day, good for you. But like, I don't know. I those guys didn't roll over. Baseball's hard.
to me it feels like the ugly American in the sense that it's that whole World Series versus the World Baseball Classic because the World Series is more of an American thing, even though we have North America involved in it. It almost feels like no, the World Series is better than the WBC. And look, many times I've heard this. It's like, why does one have to be better than the other,
That's what I was
right?
just gonna say. Why are they mutually exclusive? They don't
Yeah.
have to be. You can love them both for different reasons. And again, I think this is where everybody's gonna have different feelings, and we all don't have to live in the same tiny box. Like, all right, you think that of the U.S. Great. You go up and tell that to their face, because that's the other thing I would say is for all the people who have that narrative. Are you going to walk up to Aaron Judge and say that to him? Are you going to walk up
Yeah.
to Bryce Harper, or are you saying that because you have the comfort of being behind a computer screen and the anonymity that goes with it? Are there people out there who would say it to them? I'm sure, but again, if that's how you want to live your life and that's how happy you are, then nobody's going to change their mind no matter what. And that's where, like, to me, focusing on the good in some of these things, like some the things that we got to see were pretty amazing. Now, should they probably institute the ABS system the next time around? I'm thinking so. But I mean, outside of that, like the tournament was pretty top notch in my opinion.
Yes. Okay. The tournament is not perfect. I know there was a lot of drama. A dear friend Juan Toribio, who used to cover the Dodgers, was really adamant about this. The fact that the United States was in an opposite bracket and could not face Japan until the championship game is something that Toribio felt was a real black eye on this tournament and somehow questions the validity. You know what? I don't know enough to counter his argument on that. I mean, that dude knows baseball, so
Okay, but also, so what? Did you enjoy it less?
no, I didn't enjoy it less. I mean, like I said, I love it, but it is one of those things where you do have to wonder because it is a tournament run by Major League Baseball. You know, is there favoritism towards certain countries? And there in the World Cup, when in football, there's a thing called El Grupo de la Muerte, where you get really powerful teams in one group, and you're just kind of like, wait, why like somebody's getting a short end of the stick by getting put in this group? So you do kind of wonder and I don't know if there is really a solution for that. I think you may have that every time you have this tournament. When you look at it and go, wait a minute, why were they put here? Obviously, you guys you're looking for these matchups.
But at the end of the day, who won? It sure as heck wasn't Japan or USA. It was Venezuela.
Well,
It's
and that's
Italy who got out of pool play. So like for all the this is rigged, whatever. Like, is it though? I mean,
and that's my
are there going to be advantages maybe because of capitalism and who runs it? Potentially, yes. That's the world, though. Again, that we live in. We had this commentary last week, but at the same time, Venezuela still managed to overcome whatever privilege, whatever obstacles, and they won it. So, I mean, to me, it's a metaphor for life. Like,
well, I wish more Major League Baseball teams had that attitude. I mean, the Azulejos had it last year, and they almost won the World Series. But you have teams going into the start of this new season that are already just like, well, there's no way we can beat the Dodgers. Well, not with that attitude.
No,
I mean, you
Omar
just
Lopez,
saw
the manager of Venezuela. He had a lot of really great comments in his post game. But one of the things he said is criticism is always criticism. Hatred is always hatred. Sometimes they'll come with threats, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to try to help people transform that into positive energy. That's kind of the approach that I take. Like, we're not going to change the minds of the people who have a negative approach. That doesn't erase the negativity out there. I'm not so kumbaya that I think that, me being positive is just going to make the whole world better. But it's going to make my world better, and it might make the people in my little sphere a little happier. And then everybody gets to choose what they want to do with that. But I think if we focus on more of that, you're going to have, it's a little easier to take when some of the stuff, like when you see things that don't seem maybe quite so fair. I know that a lot of people were disappointed with how the USA DR game ended because of that call well below the plate. That's human error. They decided not to use ABS during the World Baseball Classic. There's nothing we can do about that. People also noted that earlier in the innings, the same thing happened to Aaron Judge. This just happened to be a pivotal play that ended the game. And, I felt it. And it was rough. But, okay, how can we be better next time? Maybe next time we do institute ABS because we're using it in spring training and we're using it in the major leagues for the rest of the year. Next time, maybe let's extend that over there. It'll help take away maybe some of the negativity that people feel.
The irony to me is that the Dominican, that is known for being free swingers and swinging because of that great saying, which is they don't walk off the island, they hit their way off the island, that they ended up losing that because they didn't swing at a strike.
And it wasn't a strike though.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's the irony.
Yes.
They actually had discipline and took a pitch that was a ball.
My bad.
And they got punished for it.
Hold on, you're right. My mistake. I'm sorry.
No, all I'm saying is like Vladimir Guerrero swings at pitches that bounce, right? And he still hits them. And here's the one guy that is just like, dude, lay off of it. That pitch is a ball, and he does. And they end up losing the game. I was so proud
when he laid off. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough.
Albert Pujols was very classy afterwards. He's like, I don't want to focus on the last pitch. And he's right. Like, they can't take it back. There is no ABS. There's no review of it. They're not going to overturn it. It sucks to end that because it is the possibility. And you know me, I hate what ifing because all I heard was, what if he got the walk? What if Tatis came up and hit it? And it's like, yeah, but what if can go the other way too? And it's like, we just don't live there. We can all be disappointed for a moment, but then, we've got to move on because in this moment, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah. And the thing is you can always say that it's one play and one play changed everything. But to Pujols's credit, they had opportunities throughout that entire game, and they weren't able to cash into them. And guess what? The United States had a lot to do with that. There's a lot. I mean, give credit to the United States' pitching in this tournament for the most part was really good. It's just, look, when you're getting towards the end, you're going to be playing really good teams or teams that are hot. Mm-hmm. So as much as like the hits that the offense took, like, man, poor Aaron Judge was just getting it, taking.
You don't think they feel the pressure representing their country? Like, not you, but like these guys feel all of that. Like, you just mentioned cashing in. Like, did you hear, I think Bob Nightingale put a breakout of all of the funds on this, and it was also reported in The Athletic. But basically, the winners got an extra $2.5 million bonus, and then that coupled with their total payout, I think it was 6.75 for the tournament. Half of that went to their company's baseball federation. The other half, 3.35 million, went amongst the teams and players, or I'm sorry, the players and the staff of the winning team. So they're getting about $112,500 each. Like, good for them.
Yeah.
Like, what a little windfall from this tiny little tournament that maybe some people like. Sarcasm. Like, there are a lot of good things that came out of this. Just the fact that they won, feeling good about that. I know that doesn't go a long way for some people, but if money is your motivation, I mean, they got paid for each level of this. So the U.S. and Venezuela got $1 million for advancing out of pool play, $1.25 million for winning the quarterfinal each, $1.25 million for winning the semifinal, and then what they got for winning the actual championship. So
Look,
not too shabby.
I think, I know this is still a very, very young tournament, but I think obviously Japan winning 3 of them is the outlier. But for the most part, you've had a different winner. You know, you have a bunch of people, a bunch of countries who've never won, but you have other countries that only have won once. So other than Japan, you know, I think I am very excited to see next tournament the growth of these countries in terms of how their program is going. Like I said, the Italians' growth, I did not see that coming.
Well, and people want to be in this. I think it was Ireland I saw is petitioning to get a team together. They want to be a part of it the next time around. Even just the little feel good stories you hear about. God, I can't even remember. Somebody was telling me. I think somebody was like a grocer, or like you have all these, like somebody was a mechanic, like just random people playing with big league, like just getting a chance to play. Like there's just so many feel good stories that come out of this because not everybody gets to be a major leaguer. And I don't know. I truly think it's something that's beautiful. And I hope, much like you, that it continues to stay around. And I hope they continue to improve it and learn from those places where, hey, we really can make this better because people are paying attention.
Like the plumber who struck out Shohei? Is that what he was?
Oh, no, that's not the one I was thinking of, but he's up there. Somebody was telling me another story, something like that. And I was just like, it's so moving.
It is. We're going to wrap things up, but I do just want to leave you with this because I thought it was a very interesting point that Dan Le Batard made on his own show. And I think that's part of the reason why I like the World Baseball Classic so much, is Dan Le Batard had said that in the WBC, they let the Latin players be the Latin players. Like they let them show emotion. They let them. And what I thought was really interesting, he said, is when they come play in Major League Baseball, they don't have that because when they come play in Major League Baseball, it's business. Mm-hmm. You know, so they have to act in a certain way, like act like you've been there and all that stuff. And that to me is the dichotomy of this, right? They're playing a children's game where it should be fun, right? But it's also a business. So there's other factors. So, okay.
Well, and that's even represented, like when you see, like they would never get to do this in Major League Baseball. Like somebody hits a home run, the entire team runs to greet them at home plate, and then they all go back to the dugout. I know some people took offense at that. To me, I'm like, no, this is what makes it fun. Where it is so business-like sometimes in the MLB that seeing that fun, that excitement makes it exciting. That was another one of Kike's quotes. I feel like he was kind of speaking for a lot of this stuff that people are challenging, but he says, for us coming from a little island, the things that we can do for our island while the tournament is going on, it becomes a lot bigger than baseball to where it doesn't always feel that way when you're playing for an organization in Major League Baseball. And I feel like that's what you just kind of put out there perfectly. Like it is different, especially when you do get kind of dumped in the US or in the MLB and you're playing and maybe you don't know the language. It's a lot more isolating. You're on a team with everybody who understands your culture, your language. You get to be yourself versus trying to assimilate. And I think that can go a long way too.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for this show. Amie, any last words?
Oh my God, opening day is next week. I'm so excited.
So we will definitely talk to you before opening day of next week. For those of you that have been listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us your comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.